Should you have your car serviced at the Mercedes dealership? I have been waiting for months to do this. And what I was trying to do was collect customer service experiences and hourly rates and even some feedback from dealer technicians as to what it's like to work at a Mercedes dealership and what it means to, what the difference is, what you're going to get when you bring your car into a dealership for service versus when you bring your car to an independent repair shop. So, I am not here to say don't take your car to the dealership. I just want you guys to know that in advance. I'm here to present both sides of the story so that you can make up your mind, because sometimes it's a good idea and sometimes it's not. Here are the pros to bringing your car to a dealership. I made a list right here for everybody to see. I'm just kidding. I'm not totally kidding. A lot of Mercedes dealerships that have been in business for years and years and years do have a trusted clientele. And I think that if you have a classic Mercedes, you have to vet the dealership very carefully. So you want to make sure that there's someone there who actually knows how to work on your car. That's step one. And that person doesn't necessarily have to be 150 years old with a white beard that's been there since Max Hoffman brought the 300 SL into the country. No, I have a friend who works at the dealership in Jacksonville, the one that used to be the old Brumos dealership in Atlantic, not the new hoity-toity dealership in Orange Park. His name is Stuart. He works for Mercedes as a technician, and he maintains most of the older cars that come into the Brumos dealership in Jacksonville. So, Stuart, tell us a little bit about how your passion for Mercedes developed.
So, my passion developed when I was very young. This was my grandmother's car. She purchased it in 1987. I was born in 94, so I grew up in this car every day, went to school, picked up from school. We did everything, road trips. When I started getting around 13, 14 years old, I was very involved with the car and learning, little repairs and things that I could do, to make it better, It was just an enjoyable experience. It was my hobby.
And Stuart's, I don't know, Stuart, if you're watching, what are you, 26 or 27? Stuart is a young guy, and I think that he does so well at that dealership because he understands older cars. And there's a group of guys there who understand older cars. And there are two technicians there that actually have older cars, him and another guy who has a 220S and a 280. And so I think it's important to look at the technician that's working in the car. You can't just assume that walking into a Mercedes dealership, they're going to have the confidence, the structure, the tools, and even the desire to service an older car. Now, some dealers really want to service older cars, but they don't have the intelligence, the infrastructure, and what ends up happening is they end up failing because they either become over judicious about replacing parts without understanding what they're doing, or the overhead eats them up. The Wi-Fi, the coffee, the vacations for the technicians, the premium healthcare packages, the flat rate jobs that consume a lot of people's hours, the paying for the service writer, the concierge, the detailer, 8 guys in the parts department, usually half of which know what they're doing, the giant parking lot, the overhead, the air-conditioned workshop. These are all nice things to have. They're going to cost you $150 an hour as the customer, on average. Now some dealerships are up in the $200 an hour range. Why are they $200 an hour? Because 80% of that $200 an hour goes to overhead costs. Overhead costs are what eat up businesses. That's why the $15 an hour minimum wage hurts so many people, because when you look at having a high minimum wage, you just replace it with overhead cost, and bring in more automation, and then you can get people out. And so that's what Mercedes has done to an extent. They've tried to automate as many things as possible. But, you know, I do support the technicians having vacation, health insurance, 401ks. People who work on cars do deserve to get paid like ordinary people, and dare I say, to an extent, lawyers and doctors. Even though, you know, we're not lawyers and doctors, we're performing a service that most people just can't provide. So, you know, we do deserve a living wage. But the overhead costs, and some of that overhead cost in the service department is paying for things like a floor cleaner, or how about all those thousands of pre-owned cars that have to be brought into the service department to get serviced? Roundaboutly, you're paying for that too. So my answer is, if you can find a Mercedes dealership that can service your classic Mercedes, that has the in-house expertise, and you don't mind paying the egregious fee, or you don't have any other options, fine, good, go for it. You know, sometimes they follow book rate, sometimes they do time and materials. Mercedes dealers are not bound to the time guide on a 40-year-old car. Nobody should be. You know, and that's why I don't believe in flat rate, because sometimes flat rate ends up becoming a real nuisance for the technicians, so they cut corners. So now we're going to talk about some of the cons of going to a Mercedes dealership that I didn't already list. I think the biggest con is that sometimes the person who's working on the car may not actually have the time to work on it. Who knows what, you know, the person who knows what they're doing. I have a subscriber up in Tennessee, and despite the fact he had to ask me hundreds of questions about his back axle, he ended up taking it to Mercedes Benz of Music City. So this is the back axle in a 71 280 SE. And by the way, I'm sorry that I'm making an example out of this, but the overly precautious master technician turned shop manager there had to replace every single bolt in the rear axle, like the ones that hold the spring plates onto the control arms, and had to make sure that every single wheel bolt and nut was brand spanking new. They had to make sure that every single precaution had to be taken. But these people did not know how to pull the rear end out, take the right supporting tube off, and put a continuous boot on the rear axle, which is the #1 job that we have to do. That and upper and lower diff mounts in the W108 series. I mean, I usually have 3 of those jobs scheduled, you know, per month. It's a pretty common job. It's like, quit, and this is what a lot of Mercedes dealerships do with their stupid high hourly rate and their uptight service advisors who usually aren't that nice. They hide behind this veil of competence because they get to display a Mercedes Benz star, while they bill you at the while they bill you at insane rates, sometimes above list price, for parts that you don't even need, when they can't even focus in on the actual job and rectify the main problem, the nucleus of the problem. And this is something that I always tell my customers to watch out for. So even if somebody's been in the business a long time, doesn't mean they know what they're doing. Can't, no matter where you are, independent shop or dealer or not, you just can't, you know. But there are some dealerships I advocate for. There's some that I don't advocate for. There's some that are better than others. There's some that are worse than others. I mean, I know that a customer of mine took his 240D to Mercedes Benz of Buckhead, and they quoted him 1 hour to adjust the valves and flush the brakes, and that was that. Wasn't bad at all. They followed book time, whereas he went to another shop in the area and they quoted him like 3 hours. So, you know, sometimes it is a ripoff. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this, please let us know. Please tap the bell for notifications. Please give us a thumbs up. Please like, share, and if you haven't yet, subscribe. And if you're supporting us on Patreon, thank you. And if you have an experience at the Mercedes dealership, let us know. As a last word, I'd say if you have a newer car, Sometimes the dealer might be your only option because they have all the diagnostic equipment, but if your car is within warranty, you need to have a list of what can be done under warranty and won't violate it at another repair shop, and what shouldn't be done to the car when it is under warranty so that you don't violate your warranty. Thank you for watching, and try to learn how to service your own Mercedes. You'll save thousands of dollars.